But are you suggesting, you keep saying propping up zombie companies. Are you arguing to let airlines, for example, fail?
Yes.
Hey everybody, Matty here with AltcoinBuzz. Happy Saturday and happy weekend. We are examining today the rather controversial comments by billionaire Chamath Palihapitiya, who's talking about how for a lot of the companies out there, it's better off that some of them actually fail. Specifically, he was referring to the airline industry with some of these comments, obviously in the context of what we're going through right now, this pandemic, this outbreak. A lot of the unemployment numbers keep coming in and the situation is looking grim. According to Mr. Palihapitiya, again, a billionaire, he says that it's a good thing for some of these guys to go bust, some of these larger companies, and that Wall Street has a misdirection and a very deceptive campaign of information when they insist that this is going to have negative trickle-down effects for the employees. Not necessarily, says Chamath. A lot of the apparently pensions and some of the other benefits associated with the employees are something that they could hold on to in most situations following bankruptcy. We'll also take a look at Mr. Palihapitiya's involvement in Bitcoin. He had this recent exchange with Anthony Pompliano in which he talked about, really since as far back as 2013, his involvement in Bitcoin and the fact that he owned at one point as much as 5% of the circulating supply. So from a couple of different perspectives, we'll take a look at this very interesting individual. Then we also want to remind you guys of the upcoming Blockdown conference. That is in just a few days' time. And we have an exclusive AltcoinBuzz.io code that you can redeem for $20 off the ticket price of this virtual event that's coming up soon. And then at the end of this video, of course, we have our weekly giveaway of a cryptotag Zeus starter kit. Stay tuned for that. You may well be the lucky winner. However, let's start things off with a snapshot look at the market, coinmarketcap.com. We're at $196 billion right now, total market cap, down just a little bit since yesterday, even less than 1%, but down a little bit. Bitcoin down 0.64% at $6,862. Most projects down 0.5% or perhaps a percentage point. And as you can see, we're still below that resistance line of 7K. I think we're going to have to muster a little bit of momentum to get beyond it. Unfortunately, what was support becomes resistance. You guys know how it goes. Right now, Bitcoin dominance at 64.1%. Let's take a look at this extended clip with Chamath Palihapitiya, not too long, about 2.5 minutes.
But are you suggesting, you keep saying propping up zombie companies. Are you arguing to let airlines, for example, fail?
Yes.
Why? I mean, how does that make sense in the broader scheme of the economy?
Because it's not, because when you look at what it means, this is why I'm saying, like, this is a lie that's been purported by Wall Street. When a company fails, it does not fire their employees. It goes through a packaged bankruptcy, right? If anything, what happens is the people who have the pensions inside those companies, the employees of these companies, end up owning more of the company. The people that get wiped out are the speculators that own the unsecured tranches of debt or the folks that own the equity. And by the way, those are the rules of the game. That's right, because these are the people that purport to be the most sophisticated investors in the world. They deserve to get wiped out. But the employees don't get wiped out. The pensions don't typically get wiped out.
Why does anybody, I just don't understand, why does anybody deserve, using your word, to get wiped out from a crisis created like this? How does anybody deserve to get wiped out?
Well, but just be clear, like, who are we talking about? We're talking about a hedge fund that serves a bunch of billionaire family offices? Who cares? Let them get wiped out. Who cares? They don't get to summer in the Hamptons? Who cares?
I mean, there are people. You don't think the employees? Hold on, Scott. You don't think the employees of these companies own stocks? I mean, own their stocks, own the company's stocks?
You can look on Bloomberg and you can see what percentage of these companies are typically owned by. These things are owned by BlackRock. These things are owned by these huge, amorphous organizations. Ultimately, downstream, and the employee owns a few $100s or a few $1,000 of shares.
Well, I just don't understand. So this is like a natural disaster. And why does anybody deserve to get wiped out? Wouldn't that be immoral in and of itself?
No, because what's happening right now is what I'll tell you is on Main Street today, people are getting wiped out. And right now, rich CEOs are not. Boards that had horrible governance are not. Hedge funds are not. People are. 6 million people just this week alone basically saying, holy mackerel, I don't know how I'm going to make my own expenses for the next few weeks, days, months. So It's happening today to individual Americans. And what we've done is disproportionately prop up and protect, poor performing CEOs, companies, and boards. And you have to wash these people out.
Definitely some interesting comments. And of course, this all comes down in the context of what we've been discussing really in recent weeks, stimulus packages by the Federal Reserve in the United States and many other central banks internationally that are pumping out money and printing it really with wild abandon to the tune of trillions upon trillions and trillions of dollars. That has real consequences. Not only does that dilute the money supply and it creates inflation, it effectively means that the citizens of those countries, let's use the US as an example, are indebting themselves. They're borrowing from themselves in the future. And for a lot of reasons, it punishes the responsible individuals. And I think that's at the crux of what Mr. Palihapitiya is saying here. He's really talking about the employees. And although it almost sounds counterintuitive because he discusses these package bankruptcies, whereby, for example, if an airline were to go bankrupt, yes, there are some negative consequences, and this may be case by case, but in some instances, you do have things like pensions, other benefits that are retained, and in some cases, even ownership can be retained. I don't want to speak to that level of granularity because I really don't know, and I still think it is case by case, company by company, but his attack vector here seems to be against the investor class, and he talks about how a lot of the hedge funds out there and the people that run him really do deserve to be wiped out. It's a lot of these speculative investors that make for fragility and vulnerability in the market in the first place. And so his contention is very much that these guys deserve to fail. Absolutely, they deserve to be wiped out. And he makes that kind of tongue-in-cheek comment about, so yeah, they don't get to summer in the Hamptons. Boo-hoo. Too bad for them. So obviously no love lost between Chamath and that investor class that he seems to be attacking and targeting here. We also have to wash out, he said, some of these poor performing CEOs and boards, and we have to wash these kinds of people out in order to get a performance and a meritocratic system back in place at the top, at the leadership levels of some of these companies. I also agree with that sentiment. There's not a perfect package at the end of the day that's going to benefit, on the one hand, all of the large companies, their leadership, and all of the mom and pop stores and the everyday individual citizen. There's always going to be a trade-off one way or another, but I kind of like the way that he's leaning. He's looking more toward the everyday individual, the ground level employee, and he's really not so much concerned with the bloated and fattened leadership at the top that really have proven themselves to be ineffective in the first place. In this exchange with Anthony Pompliano on his podcast, Chamath Palihapitiya also discussed his involvement in Bitcoin and really everything that he's been doing over these last years. So he talked about being involved in Bitcoin really back in 2013, where he acquired them, I believe, at an average of about $8 per Bitcoin. So hindsight is always 2020. And he described how he was into them really for the purpose of diversification on the one hand, but really security. And he viewed that as a hedge against potential turbulence and economic uncertainty. He was definitely right in the long term. He divested them in a sense, or at least allowed control of them to fall under the authority of a third-party company that handles his Bitcoin for him, just to be able to create some separation, and that provided him with peace of mind. So that's fine. But Chamath here talks about a couple of points linking back to his last exchange. With Anthony Pompliano, he talks about a couple of points that will really be required for Bitcoin to reach the next level. And he talks about a 10-year trajectory from here. He talks about how we got to be patient, but in the long term, we are going to get to some place that will be worthwhile with time if we are patient and we do the work and we support it in the meantime. So on the one hand, as I mentioned, he's very much against this hedge fund, this speculative investor class. So he is very insistent that we need to get these kinds of individuals outside of the realm of Bitcoin. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency by extension right now is dominated by these types that are looking to long, short, really on a daily basis, multiple times over and over and over to make a quick buck. And as long as the majority of people are in it for those reasons, it's not really providing Bitcoin or the rest of crypto with a fertile area, an opportunity to grow. So we've got to evolve beyond the short-term speculation innovation, he says, and really get a bunch of long-term holders that are more serious about the technology for the long-term horizon. That's number one. Number two, that needs to be coupled with kind of what we're seeing right now, to be quite honest, and maybe the timing isn't quite right because we're not yet out of that speculation phase, but we need to have the strong hands, the long-term investors, couple that with maybe perhaps a series of crises or moments of economic turmoil. Maybe it's monetary and fiscal policy that individuals disagree with, but over the long term, over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, to have stable hands that are in it for the long term, and to have perhaps one or more instances of economic downturns, of instability, of inflation in one country or another. And the more of those events that occur cumulatively, and you take those two kind of conditions together, the investment class shifting and the economies of the world becoming more and more uncertain, you take those two variables, you combine them together, and that's where Chamath describes the real possibility of Bitcoin truly taking off. And he describes it as a bit of an inevitability. It's almost like a certainty at some point down the road if you listen to him and kind of read between the lines. Quote, in 2013, I bought a lot, and at one point, I think I had almost 5% of all Bitcoins. My basis is about $80 per coin. So correction there, not 8, 80, still pretty good. I've never bought more. If you'd like to read more about Chamath Palihapitiya here and how he describes Bitcoin potentially going to $1 million, check out this article. It's on news.bitcoin.com. As you can see, he's very much I shouldn't say anti-traditional markets, but to a certain extent that's true insofar that he's against, again, the Wall Street speculator and hedge fund class. These guys are kind of the ones that ruin everything when they're over leveraged, when their risk profile is completely out of touch with the companies that they're backing, that they're investing in, and a lot of the negative effects, unfortunately, don't affect them. They come down to the employees and the layoffs and things that they never see. So I think Chamath makes some excellent points here. Here's another great one. Quote, what it will do is it will create a quasi-gold standard. It'll create an index, except instead of having to own gold where gold is owned by central banks, it's an instrument that has value that's determined in between its participants, and it's owned by everybody. Again, for the rest of the profile here on Chamath, check out this article. We will link to it in the description below. We want to remind you guys now of an upcoming conference that is happening very, very soon. This is the Blockchain Blockdown conference, article here by Deepika. As an interactive virtual blockchain conference, Blockdown promises ultimate content and networking opportunities. And of course, because of what's been happening with the coronavirus, this has now been updated to be a virtual blockchain conference. So this is a 2-day conference. It's kicking off in just a few days on the 16th of April. Here are a few of the speakers and the participants that have been announced. Changpeng Zhao, the CEO and founder of Binance, Da Hongfei, the founder of Neo, Eric Voorhees, CEO of Shapeshift, David Chom, founder of the XX Network, and Alexander Ketch, on-chain custodian. There are many more to be sure. Here is the website, or actually this is the Vimeo trailer of what the potential virtual conference could look like. Let's have a look at this. We certainly hope you will be in attendance. Again, if this is something that you're still thinking about, don't forget about our exclusive discount code. You can find it at the bottom of Deepika's article. Our AltcoinBuzz community code is AltcoinBuzz20. Again, that's $20 off to attend the 2-day International Blockchain Conference. And okay, everybody, it is that time of the week. We're giving away another cryptotag Zeus starter kit. Since last Saturday, we've produced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos. So those are the numbers that we're going to include here in our random number generator. We have a number minimum of 1 and a maximum of 10. Let's create this week's number. It is lucky number 6. So that corresponds to 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Bitcoin breakout. Bitcoin is on fire. Huge updates, including VeChain and other altcoins. Let me pull up this video here. Of course, we first select the video at random and then the comment at random. So I'm going to grab the URL. I'm going to insert that into our raffle dash random comment generator. And the winner of this week's cryptotag Zeus starter kit is Quinn Brady. Congratulations with this comment. If I only had more fiat money to put in the cryptocurrency, I would now. Yet everyone is hurting now. I have enough already in that built up over the last 2.5 years. I hope in the next 3 to 5 years to buy a house cash with it, and then some. I think we're all hoping for the same thing. It looks like you have that long-term perspective, Quinn, that we were discussing earlier. So congratulations. In the meantime, we hope this helps. Again, you are the winner of our cryptotag Zeus starter kit. Get in touch with us using the information in the description section below, as well as our email address in the about section. Start a dialogue with us. We'll make sure we get all the information from you that we need, and we'll be shipping out your prize very shortly. Congrats, Quinn. Well, that about wraps it up for today, everybody. Do be sure you're following us with all the regular social media channels and keep checking back into AltcoinBuzz.io for all the latest. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to receive notifications if you've enjoyed today's video. Best of luck if you choose to invest. Have a wonderful Saturday, though, everybody. Happy Easter to those that are celebrating. And as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.